Hey guys, how are you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing great. I hope you guys are doing good. So I thought today I should look at a very interesting video. Right, it took place a couple of years back. But I still thought it was important for us to talk about it, right? As trying to be more involved and maybe find ways in which we could find answers for some of our struggles, right, that we have in the South African healthcare system. So there was a very controversial video back in the day by 2-3 years ago by MEC Phophi Ramathuba, Dr. Phophi Ramathuba. So this is what I'm gonna be watching now, and yeah, I remember watching the news at that time, but I never watched a full news section. I just saw the video; it was roaming around. So yeah, now let's check it out.
It doesn't give me money to operate, you guys, and I'm operating with my limited budget.
But patients say this is their only option, with healthcare unaffordable in their own countries. Among those admitted here is a 24-year-old new mother. She says she came from Harare to give birth because she was worried her child would die there.
Like the way I deliver, if I deliver in Zimbabwe, the baby is gonna die. There's no medication in Zimbabwe. So that's why many people are transferring to another countries to get medication, because in Zimbabwe there's no medication for the patient.
She's not the only one. Another mother of 3 says she simply cannot afford healthcare in her country and that there are no medicines to treat her condition.
Whenever you get in the hospital, by the time you get in, if they want to use a razor blade, you have to buy. If they want to use the bandages, you have to buy before anything else. If you don't have, that means you are not going to be attended.
And then how is it different from South Africa?
It's different. Because here, it's just a 2-minute service. You'll be on a bed, you'll be medicated. In 2 minutes, they are very fast, I tell you.
According to hospital staff, these lived experiences are not uncommon. Hospital records show that 242 out of 322 babies delivered here from the 1st to the 24th of August were to undocumented mothers. 180 undocumented foreigners were also treated at the hospital's casualty department in the same period. While these men and women came here looking for life-saving health care, some locals say they're a financial burden to the system.
These people, they are from their countries without a permit to come here in South Africa. And most of them, they are from their countries. When they are sick, they need medicine from our country. And as our country, we don't have a budget for them. We have a budget for our South African only.
So as for the budget, we don't have as South Africa, because the economy is falling down day by day.
And with economics at play, the Limpopo Department of Health admits that getting payment for services rendered is often impossible.
In terms of following up with the payments that the international patients need to make, what happens is that we cannot deny any person, especially emergency medical services, because they do not have money. We first have to treat them and then make them understand that the services that they have received are not for free. They would need to be paid for. And then they'll be allowed to pay for that amount, or whatever amount that they're able to pay at that time. So for the outstanding amount, just like we do with the South African citizens, we will have them sign a debt acknowledgement form and make an arrangement to pay for that particular debt. Now the challenge with foreign nationals who are not registered anywhere or who are in the country illegally, who do not have any form of paperwork, is that it will be difficult to trace them because you don't know exactly where they stay, you don't know exactly who they are. They can even give you wrong information in terms of names, addresses, and so on and so on.
It would seem Ramathuba's sentiments have split public opinion. Some political parties like the EFF have called for the MEC's head. But her political home, the ANC in the province, say Ramathuba has raised the bar in the national and provincial dialogue. Mahlako Komane, SABC News, Musina in Limpopo.
The first thing I'd just like to talk on that they mentioned here is the speed of our healthcare workers work with, right? So they are amazing when it comes to that. They are very amazing. I was doing obs and gynae not so long ago, and I respect the healthcare workers we have, in this country, right? With the load that they have to work with, it's very amazing, man. It's very amazing. How quick they are, right? And how they deal with the situation given the circumstances, right? Shortages, things like that, but they still work through it one of the best ways possible. I have more respect for healthcare workers with regards to that. So this is the issue at hand that we have, especially as future healthcare workers. How do we deal with this issue? I heard something here said by this gentleman, but I don't think it's realistic. Because at the end of the day, after you have given the services, and a lot of these people are here because they couldn't afford healthcare services at their countries where they come from, so they won't be able to come here now and pay services. Excuse me, and pay especially for services that they couldn't get from where they came from. So this is a problem that we have, right, in the country, and fixing it, there's no clear way to fix it, right? I remember the first time I watched this video, I watched it today and I agreed with the MEC. And the following day I went to clinic and there was a long line of mothers. Most of them were undocumented foreigners, and I remember they were there for their baby's checkup, and I remember being in this room, right, going through each and every baby's checkup, and I was like, yo, now what the minister said becomes hard, because where do you send these people, right? So there's still this big drive to help these people because they're still our brothers and sisters regardless of where they come from, right? But now how do we solve it then? Because now then you find that the government is being overflooded, and I think maybe that's some of the things that NHI is trying to solve, right? I think we're gonna look into that a little bit more. I want to understand NHI a bit better because I realized that I haven't understood it. So there's this one last video I just saw now that I want to react to. Let me just see it, and I'm just gonna close this issue.
The debate is still raging about the recent conduct of MEC Phophi Ramathuba. ZANU-PF in South Africa has lambasted the MEC for her conduct.
It is insensitive for an MEC to give a lecture under the circumstances that lecture was given. There are other routes or ways that these issues could be raised. As much as she said that the patient needed to pay for the services that had been rendered to her, that is common cause. She could have been told by those that were giving her the service. But for an MEC to be insensitive in that nature and throw away the ethics that she's supposed to follow as a doctor, I think it is something that is regrettable. And I think that could have been addressed in another fora in order to make sure that whatever she was saying could be sent home to those that are supposed to hear it, not the patient who needed assistance.
Professor Adamu Tambara has also weighed in. He called on SADC leaders to attend to economic and health challenges facing their respective countries.
We have a duty and obligation in Zimbabwe to take care of our own people. We have a duty and obligation in Malawi to take care of our own people. In other words, national countries, national economies, national healthcare systems must work so that there's no influx of people in South Africa looking for jobs, looking for healthcare. We have a duty and obligation as national leaders to fix our countries and fix our national healthcare system. However, the remarks of the MSc of Limpopo is disgraceful because she's not conscious. She doesn't understand that we are all Africans, that SADC, the regional arrangement, is more important than South Africa. She doesn't understand that these borders, Botswana, Zimbabwe, are not our borders. So for her to be speaking eloquently about victimizing a patient is disgraceful, because we must be putting the region before the country, the African before the South African, the African before the Zimbabwean. So
I don't want to make this video too long though. I don't want to make this video too long, because now, okay, I think maybe I'm going to react to that, because there's still about half of it that has to go. But now I get questions, right? I get to ask myself questions, because I get all the criticism, right, that is being directed to the MEC, but now no solutions are being given. The first gentleman who spoke in this particular video said that there are other forums that could have been used to address this, but doesn't mention what really are they. That's the first thing that is interesting, right? Like, they're saying she's wrong for doing this, but what is then the right thing to help address the situation? There isn't really being, nothing about that is really being mentioned. But the second thing that really gets me and frustrates me about African leaders, man, is that they had the opportunity to remove the borders. Everyone is complaining that the borders are not ours. We agree, man. We didn't drop the borders. The borders came because of, yeah. But now, a very controversial African leader actually stood up and said, let's remove the borders. And African leaders didn't want that. There's a leader, very controversial leader. He came through and said, you know, for Africa to be strong, we have to create one country that is going to be led by one government. And African leaders said no to that. So why are we still bringing up the border argument when we suggest that the borders should be removed? Or maybe what they are planning to do now, maybe this is a place where I could be taught more on politics. Maybe what they want is a borderless Africa with all the presidents remaining as presidents. But then how far would their jurisdiction reach, right? So if I'm a South African president without borders of South Africa, how will that work? I always ask myself this thing, man, because now the actual chance to actually remove the borders by law, African leaders rejected it. So why do we still bring it up then? Why? If someone says let's remove the borders, let's have one led government, and that's something that I'm hearing a lot of African leaders talk about, but when it's time to actually implement that, presidents are saying no, understandably, because the moment you say there should be one government, we have so many presidents in Africa, no one wants to really leave the presidency seat. But then if that's the case, we must stop raising this border thing and actually come with solutions that are going to help us, because this issue, I think it's still going to continue growing in our hospitals, man. It is actually going to continue growing in hospitals that seem to have less and less funding for health faculties and health workers. So we are headed for interesting times, man. And as healthcare workers of the future, these are some of the things that we should be discussing and finding ways to fix, right? So let me just finish off this video. That just caught my attention. And this is one reason why we should actually start being involved into politics now. This is why, because now a lot of things that are happening politically now that I want to talk about that in another video. Let me just finish this video.
We need more solidarity. We need more consciousness among our leaders. So the MEC from Limpopo demonstrated the lack of ideological clarity, lack of understanding of Pan-Africanism, lack of understanding of regional solidarity. Yes, we know the healthcare facilities are being constrained by, and overextended because of people coming from other regions. But to go to the extent of exhibiting xenophobic tendencies in the way she did is really disgraceful, because we must have the tragedy right now. Our leaders in South Africa have no ideological consciousness, have no Pan-Africanism in their bloodstream, and these are liberation movements.
Former Malawian President Joyce Banda has also made a plea to African leaders to address challenges facing their respective countries.
The main issue that we are faced with is that of poverty and helplessness of our young people, the lack of opportunities. And I think until and unless we as leaders of the region take that seriously, listen to their voices, they're going to take us out of state houses. They're not playing because they have talked enough. They are dying in the Mediterranean. If this continent of Africa of 54 countries, each country was busy finding ways to create opportunities for young people, create jobs, and then the people there are prospering and doing businesses, working, would they travel to South Africa? Would they come to this country for what? What I see as a problem is their situation now. And that applies to South African young people as well, because they too see the lack of opportunity. It's not that they then are okay. They find themselves in a situation where they have to find somebody to blame, because they too don't have opportunities. So as the Professor Ntambala said, that economic freedom is not here in South Africa yet. And so while the economic muscle is not with the young people, those that are maybe complaining about those that come to take their jobs, until they see opportunities going to them, they will not care about who else comes. But those who must come will also not see the need to come if we leaders in those nations are creating opportunities for our nations.
Sophie Mkwena, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Yeah. I think I'm hearing them, but I'm not hearing how this could be solved going forward. I'm getting the arguments. Maybe we lack our leaders. Maybe they lack Pan-Africanism, ideologism, all of that. But that still does not help the situation on the ground. That still doesn't help the situation on the ground. So these are things that we still have to come back and deal with. And I think it's something maybe I must try and look into. What do healthcare workers on the ground think should be done, right? Because apparently the MEC addressing this issue like this seems to be wrong, and they believe that the alternative ways that she could have done this, although they're not showing us which ways were those. I wonder how, number one, this can be addressed, and number two, what's a possible solution? Because in my mind right now, I think that all possible solutions are not going to look good. All possible solutions are not going to look good. They are not going to look good. I don't think there's an easier way out of this that is going to make everyone happy, right? So these are things we have to discuss now and start thinking about them as early as now, and find a way, man, to support this healthcare system in this country, this very important healthcare system in this country, and how we will deal. This is our problem, actually. The more I think about it, the more I realize that it is very complex to solve. But you you could give us your thoughts, man. What do you think should be done? Do you think the MEC was correct in saying that, you know, they should be charged, that they should charge their country, or do you think that the professor is right, that as much as our healthcare system is being constrained, we should continue to constrain it, because we must not make it more important, we must make Africa more important. So Africa must come first, and not the country, not the system to which we work in. That actually sounds scary, but okay. You guys can tell me, let me know what you think. Great one.